please call the roll.
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Hagenow.
Present.
Councilmember Kerr. Here. Councilmember Parmet.
Howdy.
Councilmember Sullivan. Councilmember Thisted. Present. Mayor Riley.
Present.
There are 6 members present.
Thank you. First order of the agenda first order of business is the approval of the agenda. There's been a recommendation since the Dillon police chief is here, and he also has a council meeting tonight in Dillon, where the same resolution, I believe, is going to be addressed for the IGA as well, that we move the consideration of the IGA for the joint police department with the town of Dillon up right after the consent agenda, right after the consent agenda is approved. Is that acceptable to the council members?
Yes.
All right, then that's what we will do. With that, the first item is a proclamation for the National Brotherhood of Ski Sports. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second. Second.
Moved to second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. First item is a proclamation for the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports. And with that, I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Okay, from February 22nd to March 1st, the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports will be holding their annual convention at Keystone. This is approximately 2,000 people whose mission is to identify, develop, and support athletes of color who will win international and Olympic winter sports competitions. This is also a great advertisement for the town because these people go back to their hometowns and tell everyone what a wonderful time they had in Keystone. And they have several events going on. The mayor will be addressing them and all sorts of things. I can't wait to see the sneakers you wear at the sneakers gala.
I'm not sure what the sneakers gala is yet.
Okay. But this proclamation just recognizes the value and the benefit that they bring to our community by coming here, and thanks them for it. I'll read it out entirely. Whereas the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports was organized to identify, develop, and support athletes of color who will win international Olympic winter sports competitions representing the United States and to increase participation in winter sports. Whereas from February 22nd to March 1st, 2025, the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports will be hosting its Legends and Legacy Summit in the town of Keystone. And whereas the town of Keystone shares the values of the National Brotherhood of Skiers and appreciates the efforts to expose more people to the joys of winter recreating, and whereas the town of Keystone is proud to open its doors to the members of the National Brotherhood of Skiers and is desirous that this is only the beginning of a long, flourishing relationship, and whereas the town of Keystone wholeheartedly supports the efforts and achievements of the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports, now therefore be it proclaimed that the mayor and the town council of Keystone, Colorado do hereby honor and proclaim that February 22nd through March 1st, 2025 shall honor the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports in the town of Keystone, Colorado.
Any questions or comments?
I love it, especially, yes, I love it.
Councilmember Parmet?
This is great. I'm glad they chose Keystone.
On a related note, 2 years ago, I think when they were in Vail also presented them a key to the city, something we've never done before because we're so new. Would anyone have any objection for us at the opening ceremonies, not only presenting the proclamation, but a key to the city or the town of Keystone. Apparently, it's a nominal cost to the town manager.
Is it a key fob or a key?
We are a 21st century town.
Ceremonial recognition.
That would be awesome.
The town manager would be responsible for procuring whatever, and as you indicate, was nominal cost.
Nominal cost, yeah.
Just thumbs up if it's okay with you guys. All right.
Why not?
Our first key to the city.
We're talking about almost a full week of full lodging and full use of Keystone facilities. And a group that's going to go back nationally and talk about our town. They also have a few families that are coming in. It's not all singles and so there's an opportunity to spread family-friendly message of Keystone. Can I have a motion then? Councilmember Davis.
I move that we present the proclamation recognizing the National Brotherhood as No Sports Legends and Legacy Summit, along with the first key to the town.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or comment? I'll call the question then. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. The next item is communications to council. This is an opportunity for the public to provide a comment to the council. One of the recommendations that came out of the Mayor's Summit that I attended this last week with the sponsored by Colorado Municipal League was that it was fairly important to actually have a timer and enforce the timing of the 3 minutes of comment. And the reason is to ensure that we are being fair to everyone who wants to speak, that we're not curtailing some people and letting other people go much longer. So with that, I've asked our town clerk to run a timer. I think she's going to turn her laptop around for us so we can, sorry, she already has it up.
It's on there.
It's on there. So with that, the floor is open. I'll start first here, and then we'll go online. And please state your name and where you live or your connection to Keystone.
I'm Pete Mellon. I'm resident into the full-time in the Keystone Ranch area. I'll keep this short in deference to our hopefully soon-to-be chief. Mostly I just want to say thank you. And one of the key areas of thank you to everybody is communications. Our town has had, I would say, an abundance of mechanisms, and I wanted to give you a little tiny bit of feedback on which ones were very obvious to me for communications to our constituents and our customers, if you will. And the ones that stand out very quickly are things like the direct meetings with the HOA, the KOA, direct meetings with the HOA. I hear feedback all good with regards to the preparation, the availability, and the perspective that we're trying to be an open and honest and a direct community with regards to communications. So again, thank you so much. There's, of course, plenty more office hours from the staff, the business associations that we've had meetings with directly, and, of course, the bi-weekly and these meetings here. My personal favorite, and I'll keep it short, is the coffee with council. So I appreciate and thank you for that kind of direct communications and the ability and your staff's openness to conversations. And with that, I'm done. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to council? Is there anyone online who would like to speak to council?
Not that I see so far.
All right. Last call for anyone online or in person. In that case, I will call the communications to council portion closed, and we'll move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. And can I have a motion or recommendation change of the consent agenda?
Somebody did just raise their hand. Maureen Barrett.
All right.
Able to unmute. Can you hear me? Is that yes? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Maureen Barrett. I live in Evergreen, Colorado. I own a home also in Red Hawk Lodge in Keystone. And I'm providing these comments because I just want to remind that the town of Keystone's charter allows the levying of taxes for municipal functions. But right now we have two authorities implementing taxes on the same properties to provide identical functions. And my comments tonight are an attempt to stop that process. Just to remind on the scary statistics of how undemocratic Keystone Neighborhood Company is. It spends $1.6 million every year in order to bring in $1.0 million by events. And having been in Keystone for years now, I know there's very little STR, short-term rental activity in summer, so there isn't a payoff on that. KNC spends $300,000 of our money in order to plow the same roads that it is the town of Keystone's job to plow. KNC ignores the interests of KNC homeowners when they are negatively impacted by Kindred. KNC sets its annual meetings as an in-person only when most of the homeowners live very far away. KNC pays about $250,000 to a director whose resume is just withheld, no matter what you say. KNC takes about 2% of every property sale every year, then levies an additional 50% on the very same properties that Keystone and Summit County are levying taxes on. It ends up being quite a big amount of money every year. And Keystone is denying the ability to change the bylaws to the homeowner group to provide the lion's share of revenues. KNC denies a majority of board seats to the homeowner group that provides the lion's share of revenues. And it can do this because it allocated to a corporation 30 years ago 1,000 votes that will not change regardless of how much land or business that corporation is owning in the neighborhood itself. And guess who is that corporation? It's Vail Resorts, of course. So we have an equation. It's obvious to me that Kindred equals KNC equals Vail Resorts. And when I heard these town and corporation meetings, many people stood up and said, we don't want to be just an arm of Vail Resorts. Well, will Keystone really live up to that request? Let's find out. I mean, right now we have Mayor Riley encouraging KNC's director to join Keystone's design review board. And we also have right now, okay, well, it looks like I'm done. I think you've already been sent these comments. So sorry I didn't get the full 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
You still have.
That's okay. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Take care.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any other comments? All right. The next item on the public comment period is again closed, and we are now dealing with the consent agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the consent agenda, or can I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Davis.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Councilmember Kerr.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda, at this point, we made a change to the agenda to move the resolution 2025-06, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, approving the intergovernmental agreement with the Town of Dillon for a combined police department. We do have present in the audience today the Dillon Police Chief as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Town Manager.
Okay, so this is it. This is the 7th meeting where we have officially discussed this. If we approve tonight and if the Dillon Town Council approves tonight, effective February 1st, we will have a police chief and combined police force that we will be ramping up. Been in communication with the Dillon Summit County Sheriff's Department, and they are fine continuing to provide services as we ramp up with Dillon. We'll be having lots of meetings with the managers, the chief, and the sheriff as we're working out those final details. But they are perfectly fine and happy with where we're going. There was one typo in the agreement, paragraph 2.2, the second sixth says sixth, but that's just a typo. It will be corrected in the final draft. And I guess, are there any questions before we go forward with this?
Any questions, any concerns?
Can we make comments?
Yes, absolutely.
I've said this before, but I've supported the joint police force concept from the start. I didn't say this at our last meeting just to keep it short, but I think this is the most practical, efficient, fiscally responsible option for Keystone. And we all know that forming a new town entails bumps in the road, but I really hope that this council and our community can get behind working together and having exceptional communication and cooperation, because this is going to benefit Dillon and Keystone into the future. And I think our collective attitudes need to refocus on how to make it work. And I'm thrilled that Dillon is willing to work with us.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Councilmember Hagan.
I completely agree with the comments that were just mentioned, and I know during previous meetings we were definitely nitpicking and pulling apart aspects of the agreement. But I think that was out of the care to make sure that we had the best law enforcement group that we can, and I think that this is exactly how Councilmember Thiss said, kind of the best option, and I'm really excited for this. So I'm really excited to see what comes in the next couple of years and how this grows and develops.
Are there any other comments? Councilmember Kerr.
I think we're taking this decision with a lot of care, and as Councilmember Pistes noted, we had lots of questions so that we understand what we're getting into and what we're getting. And I think we can have a lot of confidence, especially in Chief Osborne. Thank you for coming to several meetings with us. By doing this, we're significantly increasing the level of police law enforcement in our town and code enforcement. Those things that are detrimental to our neighbors but don't raise the level of police response. So those are two big wins. We are significantly increasing the policing costs for the town, but A, we can afford it. B, that cost reflects the high expectations of the community. C, it reflects the reality of the cost of your highly trained police officers, all the administrative overviews, and the leadership involved in policing. I think we are recognizing this is a significant step for you and for us both, and I think we are, according to what we've heard tonight, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilmember Davis.
I firmly believe that I think most of us ran on a platform, so to speak, of improved policing in Keystone, and I firmly believe that this is the way we can do it, and I appreciate the concept of the joint force.
Since our attorney is remote tonight, this is an opportunity. Do you have any comments you'd like to make on the IGA, Jennifer?
My comment would be that I do think it's in good shape, and that we did spend quite a bit of time revising and working on the agreement that we started with, which is the one from Fraser and Winter Park, which that's a good agreement to start with, and we built on that. And so I'm excited to see how this all plays out with Dylan, and I've enjoyed the conversations that I've had with the chief and their legal counsel.
Thank you. And since the chief's here, I have to ask if there's any comments you'd like to make about this before we make a decision?
Not before you vote.
I'll make sure that I call on you after a vote. With that, can I have a motion? Councilmember Hagenau.
I move to approve resolution 2025-06, approving the IGA with Town of Dillon for Joint Law Enforcement Department.
Second.
Councilmember Parmet seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? In that case, I'll call the question. Because of the magnitude of this, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis.
Approve.
Councilmember Hagenau.
Approve.
Councilmember Kerr.
Approve.
Councilmember Parmet.
Approve.
Councilmember Thisted.
Approve.
Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 6 votes to approve.
Thank you very much. And before we move on to the next item, and I purposely did not give my comments, I believe this is a tremendous step forward for the town. The motion is probably one of the most consequential decisions that this council has made in the last year as we're coming upon our 1-year anniversary. I'm very excited to see the potential as we move forward. And I would encourage, and I recognize this is a joint operation, so I would encourage the town manager to work with the town of Dillon and who is now our new police chief, because we just appointed him the police chief in the last motion, to work very quickly on a communications plan, on getting this communicating to the community. This was a recommendation, by the way, of Councilmember Thisted. Communicating to the community what we have done and the importance of that to this community, and I think also the importance to the town of Dillon. Our opportunity to have significantly enhanced police support for both communities, I think, has the potential to actually occur as a result of this agreement. And with that, I'll ask if our new chief of police would like to say anything.
Who is Keystone now?
Thank you.
Perfect.
It is a very unique concept. I would not dispute that. Talking with the mayor now, going on years. I think it is an incredible opportunity for both communities. I think it has potential to be what both communities expect. And we're going to do our hardest to meet those expectations, and we can't wait to get started. There's a lot of work to do.
I don't envy you with the work you have the next 4 months.
I would never mean any disrespect to that, but if I go running out of here quickly, I'm trying to make the other meeting. Just real quickly, both mayors, both town managers, council for both have just been outstanding to work with. Sean Murdoch, our admin assistant, Gabby, just really good effort and a really good starting point to build relationships in the future. As people get to know our staff and we get to know you, similar with, in the community, building those relationships will be tantamount to our success in the future. So, thank you.
Again, thank you very much.
Yep. And this means don't speak to Dylan now either, please.
And you can't show your council card and expect to get passed.
I was gonna,
Why you cannot?
can I get a copy of the council card so we know?
That's right.
Thank you guys, have a good night.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the accounts payable list. I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Okay, let me pull that up quickly. Sorry about this, not prepared. Why am I not finding accounts payable?
Page 26.
Oh, it's in the packet. That would help. Sorry about that. I scrolled right past it numerous times. Okay, let me see our big, we have, yeah, all Summit I's professional is a mistake. That snow plowing, that $3,700 is what that check was paid for, the $11,675. That's the bill for plowing up at Level Pass Village. And the $11,675 is the total bill, but we pay it in installments. So that number is actually a mistake. It was $3,700.
So it's about $3,700 a month then versus $11,000 a month as was indicated.
Correct, yes. Yep. Sorry about that. I didn't notice that till just now. I should have. I did notice when I approved the bill. Other than that, any questions about anything in the payments? What was the $5,900 Summit County government bill? You recall?
I believe that was for the elections.
Oh, you're correct.
Yeah.
Yep. We've made our first payment to SE Group. That will be claimed against when we do our quarterly filing in March. So.
Any questions?
Keystone Policy Center. Our lease here expires at the end of this month. We're going to continue on a month-to-month basis, 60-day cancellation. That's how the lease was written as we're negotiating.
And on that note, it's time to start the negotiation for the eventual long-term either acquisition, lease purchase of the facility and the land. And as I've been talking to the town manager, would anyone on the council have an objection for Dan Sullivan and I working with the town manager in the policy center on that negotiation?
Please do.
All right. We will do that. Anything else any other questions on? Great. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing on ordinance 2025-0-1, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, adopting a general penalty provision, providing an appointment process for the municipal court judge, creating an administrative citation process, and amending ordinance 2024-0-12 to follow the state schedule for traffic fines. At this point, I'll declare the public hearing open. At this council meeting, we will have the public hearing on the consideration of ordinance 2025-01 or O-1 regarding adoption of the general penalty provision providing an appointment process for the municipal court judge, creating an administrative citation process, and amending ordinance 2024-0-12. to follow the state schedule for traffic fines. The council will listen to any public comments and consider them in our deliberations. The following are the procedures for the hearing. First, we'll hear a report from the town manager. Then we'll take public comment on the ordinance, and public comment again will be limited to our standard 3 minutes per speaker. And if you have a comment, Peter can line up behind himself and take your turn to speak, and we'll consider anyone online will have an opportunity to speak as well. And again, please say your name and where you live, own or work in Keystone. Neither the council nor the town manager will answer questions or respond to your comments during the public hearing. And following public comment, the public hearing will be closed, and the council will then deliberate for a decision. At this time, would the town manager please provide an introductory presentation on the ordinance?
Okay, since this ordinance coincides with so many legal implications, including state statutes, I will ask our attorney, Jennifer Madsen, to please present this to you.
Good evening, Jennifer Madsen, town attorney. I wish I could be with you all there tonight. It's a little bit different being on the screen here. But I wanted to provide you a quick overview of this ordinance. This has come before you a number of times. I believe it was discussed in October at a work session, also again in December at a work session, and the ordinance was approved on first reading on January 14th. And essentially this ordinance does 5 things. It first sets the framework for the municipal courts. The second thing that it does, adopts maximum penalties of fines and jail time. The ordinance implements a process for the appointment and removal of the municipal court judge. It also has an administrative citation process. And lastly, there is an amendment to a 24 ordinance that was adopting the model traffic code, and that amendment is to follow the state fine schedule for traffic violations, which is consistent with how Dillon handles fines for traffic violations. I did want to note that there is a very minor change that will be made in the ordinance. You don't need to make an amendment for this change. And that is that there was a typo in the administrative process section under section 4. It listed Arapahoe County and it should be Summit County. And it was approved on first reading with Summit County. That just was an oversight for this packet. So happy to answer any questions.
Does the council have any questions for staff? See no questions from staff. I will now open the floor for public comment. And again, if you'd like to make a comment, please state your name, where you live or work or connection to Keystone, and limit your comment to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Is there anyone online who would like to speak? Going, gone. At this point, I will close the public comment period, or the public hearing, and we'll enter into council discussion and potential motion on this ordinance. So with that, does council have any discussion? Or would like to make a motion? Councilmember Davis.
Motion to approve, now I've got to find the number. Okay. 2020, wait a second.
25.
Yeah, 2025-0-1, ordinance An ordinance of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, adopting a general penalty provision, providing an appointment process for the municipal court judge, creating an administrative citation process, and amending ordinance 2024-0-12 to follow the state schedule for traffic fines.
Is there a second, Councilmember Thisted?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, I will call the question. And I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Caganow.
Approved.
Councilmember Kerr. Approved. Councilmember Perman.
Yeah.
Councilmember Thisted. Approved. Councilmember Davis. Approved. Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 6 votes to approve.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is Resolution 2024-05, or 2025-05, a resolution of the Town Council of Town of Keystone approving a down payment assistance program for town employees. With that, I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Okay, this is the program we've talked about twice, once in executive session and then at the workshop last week that I was remotely at. This is a program that would use some of our housing dollars to help town employees in their first homes. It provides up to $100,000 at 1% interest as a loan, a down payment loan, or a loan to pay off a similar program if the employee was already enrolled in such a program at their previous employer. We have a very limited staff, as I've mentioned before. I don't foresee this being an economic hurdle in any way for the town. The monies are all secured by the property. We're kind of familiar with what property values are like in Summit County, so I'm not concerned about that. Worst case scenario, we have 3 employees currently who would even be eligible to be involved in the program, who either don't own their house yet or are involved in a similar program. So worst case scenario for the town at this point would be a $300,000 expenditure, not a true expenditure because it's a loan that is paid back over 20 years at 1% interest, a low interest rate, but it is still some interest. Are there any questions about the program that we haven't discussed, dealt with? It's a great retention program with the acceleration clauses, to tell the truth. It's kind of mean to the employees, but it's the company store. You know, I owe my soul to the company store.
Do you anticipate the other municipalities or governments that have similar programs are going to adjust theirs to allow for reduction of the clause in the retention program?
I don't think so.
My guess is this isn't even on the radar, and by the time it becomes on the radar, they will have it's a ways down the road. Is there any other comment or discussion? Councilmember Davis.
I think this is a valuable program for maintaining our staff, and anytime we lose a staff member, we lose momentum. So I fully support this and believe it's something, you know, as we wrote our HR documents, one of the things that we wanted to do was find ways to hire and maintain staff, and I think this is a big step in the right direction.
Approval of this resolution, the next steps I should put forward would be myself and our town attorney actually probably working with towns that already have the program to make sure we have the necessary legal framework and documentation and safety checks, things like that to make the program run smoothly at no risk to the people at the time.
Councilmember Higgins.
With that, and I know I've voiced my opinions on this before, I still fully support this program, but I would like to again see some sort of cap on this, right? Is it $500,000? Is it $1 million? Like whatever that cap is, I don't like the open-endedness of this. And so while you look at the legal framework, that might be something to consider. Because again, I am fully supportive of the program, but I'm concerned about the potential whole impact. Again, we only have 7 employees right now, max of 3 that could utilize it, but still that is definitely a concern financially.
And to be very clear, no expenditures, even this year, because we don't have this budgeted. So if we have expenditures coming out of this, it would have to come to the council for a supplemental budget. And if the council doesn't fund it, whether the program is on the books or not, the council cannot be obligated to fund programs beyond what's in the current budget. So there's annual review by the council of the program just built into the budget structure.
Councilmember Thisted, your finger moved to the button.
I was just hoping for a motion.
All right, you're welcome. Big one.
I'd like to offer a motion to approve Resolution 2025-05, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, approving a down payment assistance program for town employees.
Approve. Second.
Whatever works.
Is there any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call the question. And again, this time we'll do a raising of hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion is carried, I believe, unanimously. The next item on the agenda is planning matters. Mr. Tamac, any planning matters tonight?
No planning matters. I will address some in my manager's report.
And with that, we'll turn it over to town manager for a manager staff report.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to apologize. As I was writing the report tonight, I recalled when I was at home in bed last meeting telling you I would send you all a written report, and I just completely forgot that I promised you that. So I'd like to apologize about that. And now we'll kind of go through some of the important things that happened. The IMTPR officially approved their priority schedule. Razor Drive is a Tier 2 project, which is really important. There's Tier 1, which are kind of projects that are already going, or just the ultimate importance. Finishing Vale Pass is a Tier 1 project. Projects that are already going, that they need more money for, or projects that just have overwhelming impact on everything. When they did the 205 interchange, that was a Tier 1 project. Tier 2 is a smaller, there are like about 10 projects in Tier 1. Tier 2, similar, about 10 projects in it, and generally Tier 2 projects move up to the Tier 1 level. We're anticipating funding outside IMTPR for Razor Drive, but it's still nice to be there. And our other 2 intersections of concern are on the priority list, which was what we wanted to get done until we have more concrete plans. They don't move up the list, but the list enables us to apply for like planning grants and issues like that, so we can get more concrete funds. There were actually, after the ranking of projects, the IMTPR recognized we have some extra multimodal opportunity funds. Only 2 projects applied. To apply for those funds, you have to have a shovel-ready project. We are applying for the remainder of some of these funds to help the Brightwood sidewalk area from the interchange up to the lodge. The Brightwood came in, a lot of this project is not on Brightwood property. It's in the town right away on property. Brightwood came with their initial assessment somewhere around $400,000 to build that section of sidewalk. So we're going to see if we can get some of these state funds to help complete the project rather than trying to value engineer it, make sure it's a good project and a safe project still.
And am I correct that even if we don't get the grant, we'll still go through the value engineering process and come back to council with, if there is a requirement to complete the project?
Oh, absolutely. We'll probably be presenting what we're at in the next meeting or two. I know that Lindsay met with the Brightwood people today to go over some of the plans. I just haven't had a chance to talk to them about where we're at there. But this project is definitely going ahead, and we're trying to get some extra money to make it as nice a project as possible.
Councilmember Thisted.
So it's possible that I've missed some of the details that we've disclosed in regards to the Razor Drive project. I think it's hard to comprehensively articulate the importance of this project to the current town and the history of the incorporation effort, because this was one of the primary drivers of the incorporation effort. And I want to make sure that, first, I appreciate the efforts that have been done to make any progress at Razor Drive, but I do have concerns about Band-Aids. I want to make sure that CDOT doesn't take this as a checked box and put us back down the priority list when the intention of those, I believe, I'll speak for myself, with incorporation was to adequately address Razor Drive with a stoplight or something really significant to make this a safe intersection. And so I personally would love more details about what is planned for the Razor Drive improvement and some assurance that this isn't going to be our long-term solution that takes this intersection off of the to-do list.
So
because I don't think a lot of people are going to be satisfied with this solution.
I can answer some of those questions right now. We've had these discussions with CDOT about this. To me, the only true answer down there is an underpass. Overpasses, unfortunately, don't work. People are willing to go down the stairs first and then go up them. People are not willing to go up the stairs first. It's just a fact of life. I've had discussions with CDOT about this, and the sticking point right now is traffic counts and pedestrian counts for getting the full-blown final project that we need. We anticipate with the redevelopment of the Mountain House base area, and I've had these discussions with CDOT that this is a no-brainer to put a much more significant solution in, probably including a stoplight and an underpass. To tell the truth, this is a Band-Aid in a way, but it will be a significant Band-Aid. A lot better lighting, a lot more lighting, pedestrian refuge across the way, traffic calming devices by narrowing the lanes. But it is a Band-Aid, and they realize this is not the end of our need for funding to make this intersection what it truly needs to be in the future.
Councilmember Kerr.
So I want to second every word by Councilmember Thisted.
Yeah.
Absolutely well said. We're not looking for a Band-Aid. I'm very concerned about this. I know it's a step, but we need to recognize it's a small step. One of the things I'd like to ask is if you can get the numbers, the actual dollar figures for this so-called commie light system that they're thinking of now versus an actual stoplight, so we understand what's going on.
They won't put a stoplight in now because of the traffic numbers there.
What does that mean, because of the traffic numbers?
Because there are not sufficient traffic numbers throughout the year to warrant a stoplight at that position.
Well, I don't want to poo-poo our partners at CDOT, but I know that their comment about the X205 that they didn't want to change is because there weren't actual fatalities. I would like to do something before we have to point to a fatality.
I agree 100%, and that's why this is approximately a $2 million project here. And it is a Band-Aid, and they are well aware it is a Band-Aid. But we can't necessarily wait till we get the numbers. CDOT operate their true bureaucracy. If you don't meet this threshold.
If you don't meet this
Yes.
threshold, then we go to a higher level and we work it. What is the threshold to get a permission from CDOT to put a stoplight in our town?
More
Do
traffic.
they give you numbers?
I don't know the
Just
exact
because
number.
more is not good.
No, I can get.
We will get more
Yeah, I
traffic.
can get it doesn't matter if we know we'll get more.
Right.
It's, have we gotten more? That's CDOT's rules, and we're not there yet.
Well, could you find out from them what there is? Because CDOT study that they did for exit 205, that's the study that said that we're going to see 40% increase in traffic over the next, frankly, I don't remember if it's 5 or 10 years or something like that.
As an example, and one I'm really familiar with, they were reconstructing the east side of Berthoud Pass when they did the traffic study for the west side of Berthoud Pass. And the numbers they had to use for the west side of Berthoud Pass were the numbers they had before the construction was finished on the east side. After they finished construction on the east side, the numbers doubled. West side of Berthoud Pass literally fell apart 2 years ago, literally fell apart. And they had to come in and do emergency repaving. CDOT is very difficult to work for when they have the numbers to back them up. But they do understand this is not the final solution for this interchange. And they recognize that there will be bigger traffic happening as Kinder comes on, as the Mountain House space area is redeveloped. But until those numbers are actually on the road, CDOT's hands are tied by their own rules.
Have they given you that specific number, that cutoff? Or is this a secret? They just say it has
No,
to be
it's not a secret. I did not ask the exact numbers and how much more traffic we have to get there. I can find that out for you though. But it's not a secret on what warrants traffic.
Councilmember Permet.
So just let us know when all the council needs to go out and drive circuits back and forth to Keystone and make the numbers get over the threshold. But seriously, appreciate the efforts, ecstatic to hear that we all know it's not the solution that we truly need. However, it is a solution with meaning far earlier than any of us thought we'd see accomplishment. And I think that we all ought to give 3 cheers for that. And I'm excited about the calming measures that are going to be in place. I remain concerned about ensuring that the improved lighting does not spill over out of the zone of safety into the zone of sleeping. Thank you for your work on that. I'll look forward to more details.
Councilmember Liston.
Beating the drum about communication and transparency, how can we make sure we have the details of this particular $2 million project publicized and available for people who are interested on the website, just to say, hey guys, this is what's happening. We want to acknowledge that this is an interim solution, but here are the measures that are being taken and within this time frame.
Yeah, we're having the conceptual drawings finalized right now. And once they're done, we'll get those posted. And then when the construction drawings and the grant hopefully comes through, which really sounds like it absolutely will, we'll make sure this is all highly published. And even once we have the conceptual design for it, we'll be soliciting feedback from anyone who wants to give on.
I believe we need to have a public meeting when the conceptual
Yeah.
drawings come in to allow the public to come in and see what's being proposed and what's going on and to answer questions in the community.
But even prior to having those conceptual drawings and major details, getting it up on the website or maybe a press release to the Summit Daily to let them know that this is in the works, just to kind of get ahead of people's potential dissatisfaction with it not being the final solution. And then backing up to the other identified intersections in Keystone, what do we need to do to have a more concrete plan in order to get those moving forward?
Spend a ton of money to have those traffic engineered. Yeah.
Councilmember Hagan.
One thing that I think I've experienced, like as a user of that intersection, that I would like to share with you so that it's brought up for the conceptual drawings, is the actual usability of the features, right? Like these pedestrian refuges or these lights are all great in theory, but specific, like in a specific example, the snow piles get pushed right up in front of where you activate the lights. So we can have all the lights in the world, but if there's not the ability to actually use or activate those lights, it's a waste of money. And so having snow cleared from the areas, the refuge where you activate the lights, taking that into consideration when the designs are being brought up would probably be really useful, because I'd hate to see us, or the state and us, spend upwards of $2 million on something that isn't fully usable.
And this intersection, especially at the crossings, will be curb and guttered now, and paved sidewalks on both sides of the roads, not just in the middle, so that it won't be snow storage, it'll be something that can be cleared.
Perfect, thank you.
Councilmember Kerr.
That's interesting. How far locked down will the curving go? Will it go down as far as the bus stop?
I can't answer that.
Okay,
right
that
off the
might
top
be
of my
worth
head.
looking into, because
I imagine so.
As we've done the other studies in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
and caused that bus stop to be moved where it was, it does, that curb and gutter and the sidewalk capability needs to
Should
go down
extend to
where
there,
that bus
yes,
stop is.
yes.
I have to admit that was on my agenda tonight to put this on everybody's plate, because it's not a safe bus stop right now.
No.
I did, because I've been going to transit board meetings, I asked, and they said, well, a shelter was never part of the plan for that project that the county did come through for us. We need some kind of way to demarcate, I don't know if that's the right word, to mark that this is not a trackable lane, which is not very clear in the middle of January, Christmas time.
I agree with you 100%. That needs to be curb and guttered as
And
part of
maybe
the project.
even something as simple as a park bench, metal bench or something to clarify that. I want to be clear that I'm not speaking for Councilmember Vista, but I think we are both saying, yay, you, yay CDOT for this, but let's also immediately start thinking of what the next step is. We can be concerned and happy at the same time, both things can be true.
And we're going to be starting working here in the next month or two on a conceptual plan for the entire north side pathway, north side of Highway 6. It's easier to do north side than south side first.
I agree.
And as part of that conceptual plan, it will certainly show the underpass at that intersection, not just tying into this new glorified crosswalk.
Better crosswalk.
Are there any other comments? Any other items?
Okay, I have a whole bunch more.
I figured that.
Found out, I'm not sure if I mentioned this at the last meeting, but Keystone Resort did not budget any money, apparently, when they did their budget last summer for median maintenance. We have staff diving into old records and finding out what the actual obligations for that are, but expect us to be in front of you again discussing that issue.
What was in their previous budget?
I don't know, but they always paid for the watering, we assume, the lawn mowing,
Everything,
Yeah.
everyone that I've talked to with history of Keystone, and I believe I've seen it someplace, but I don't know where, that when the highway was expanded from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, there was a PID that was established. This was pre-Tabor, and the county commissioners then enacted a tax on the members of that PID which were along Highway 6, to pay for the property tax, to pay for the improvements to Highway 6. As part of that PID agreement, Ralston Pareda at the time, everyone says it's true, we're dealing with almost 40-year-old documents now, agreed to take on maintenance responsibility of the medians. Right now, the town manager has reached out, they're reaching out to CDOT, they're reaching out to other people who've been here in Keystone years ago who might have some knowledge of where those agreements are. And it's been surprising that, again, we're dealing with 40-year-old documents. There's never an issue until this year when Vail said, oh, we were doing it out of the goodness of our heart. There's some other contacts I know I'm going to be reaching out to on this subject as well, who we're with Vail, and we're doing some work on medians that we may be able to get some information. He may very well be aware of that. But it's an issue that we're going to have to work on and get the legal document out there. Otherwise, we have a problem. This appears, given the timing of it, this was a Chris Sorensen decision that was made in the June-July time period when he was still the general manager prior to the arrival of Shannon Bueller, and how she is now in the middle of execution and the budget that she inherited.
Yeah, I asked her if they needed help replacing some of the trees in the median. She said, we don't have any money budgeted for the medians this year. So,
And I assume that includes like the four corner area?
no, that's a different situation.
There is a specific agreement
Okay.
of covering the four corners is not a median, so we're
Right.
talking.
That's why I asked.
There's a specific agreement that Vail Resorts made with CDOT to maintain that all of the work that was done on the Four Corners project, as well as to maintain the statue that's there.
And CDOT's a big shock. They can't find an agreement. I'd say it's in the box right next to the box they put the Ark of the Covenant in, the first Indiana Jones. But it's got to be out there somewhere. Josh has actually gone down to the Summit Historical Society to dig through boxes. We know the approximate year. This should have taken place in 1986. So we're digging, but...
And we'll be reaching out to people who were here in 1986 and here in executive positions.
Yep.
And see if we can find it. If we can't, we're probably stuck other than some push through Vail on goodwill on their part to continue that work. And if we have to, I think I'll have an opportunity on the 22nd to meet with the CEO of Vail with NBS in town, and that'll certainly be on the top of my agenda to have a discussion with her on, gee, you guys pull this out, no notice to us, we're through the budget process. And this really doesn't show good partnership.
Yeah. Josh is reaching out and getting some cost estimates if we have to take over responsibility. So.
What happens if we don't take over responsibility?
We have some really ugly medians with that plant, some grass in the middle of our road.
Yeah.
I'm not put a median on North Fork around my North Road, because for years I maintained that and put planters out there and spray weed killer, but it makes me angry that nobody with my tax money is maintaining that median.
I don't know, that median was put in after these medians, so we'll look into that too.
That's a different issue.
Yeah.
And there may be some different responsibilities there.
Yeah.
And that road, I believe the town would probably be picking up that responsibility
Yeah.
For Montezuma Road, because that's a town road, not a city road. And since we picked up responsibility for Donville Road, it would be, and we have responsibility already for Montezuma. We would pick that up.
Okay, managers meeting last week, we discussed early childhood options and the difficulty it's starting to present with just increasing costs. It's a concern with all of the managers, and we're trying to figure out some solution, especially given the second part of the managers meeting where we talked about a flavored nicotine ban throughout the county. All the other communities in the county are going to pass a flavored nicotine ban. I'll be bringing it up to you after we review their draft ordinance. Apparently it's very popular with the kids. But it would just cut down on those nicotine dollars, which help fund programs like early childhood options. CAS meeting is coming up this week. Wednesday night is opening and the reception. Thursday's business day. Friday ski day. That's in Breckenridge. The comp plan, as you saw, we cut a check to the consultants. We're in the data collection phase still. We have a site visit from all the consultants scheduled on the 25th. They are very happy with the data they're collecting so far, and they expect to start forming the committees in February, having all the committees fully formed by March.
What does that mean? They're going to form committees?
The committees will be formed based on the input from the consultants. Consultants will say, the stakeholder committees, things like that, they will help us identify the various parties that should be involved in those
You
committees.
mean the type of parties or the actual individuals?
The types of parties,
Okay.
yeah.
So that means in February, we're going to celebrate, at the end of February, a big push to explain to everybody what's going on, because we don't really know.
Yeah, yes. This is part of the consultants outreach that we're paying them for.
Right.
So, but first they're just getting the data collection done. That's where we're at. Next is the outreach stage after the data collection stage. And that includes not just the committees, but scheduling outreach events, surveys, getting the information from all of the stakeholders in the community, meaning every single person who has an interest in the community if they want to submit their ideas, their thoughts.
Did you get a sense that they took our comments to heart and are actually adjusting their strategy based on those comments? Because there's a few things they said that were like, we don't have that here. So.
I wish Lindsay were here to answer. He's been meeting with them. I have not met with them, but I assume so because Lindsay has not had any complaints about having problems with them adjusting to your comments to the grant we discussed today. They're more than willing to be flexible. They want a good product. This is really important for them. Not often does a consultant get a chance to do a first comprehensive plan anywhere.
Understood.
So this needs to work for them, not quite as much as it does for us, but it really needs to work for them. So.
Thanks.
Let me see, our employee workforce, I'm juggling some, our hours of town hall are going to remain constant. A couple of our employees are going to try 4 10-hour days rather than 5 8-hour days. We'll see how that works out, but it should be okay. There will always be coverage, and there will always be coverage that can answer the question that walks in the door on that day. And some of the older guys who work here just have we're willing to work 10 hours, we're not willing to schedule ourselves 10 hours a day. So I'll be here all the time, Lindsay will be here all the time, and some of the other staff we're working on things, make sure it works out, and if it doesn't, we'll go back to the way things are. Speaking of workforce, apparently today the first rumor around the community started about ICE enforcement. We don't have any verification that ICE was up here. They apparently have started down in Aurora though. So.
And even up in Adams County. But it was, the case up in Adams County was specifically targeted, the DEA. It was actually led by the DEA. It was an existing investigation by the DEA that actually started last August, and it just happened to culminate a week after the inauguration. And so it's being PR'd as part of the effort, that in fact it was an effort, and 41 people were arrested as part of that operation. It was a quasi-club operation. It's really sketchy, and it was led by a bunch of really bad guys, and everyone there were either closely associated with those bad guys. So that was what that one was about. It's gotten a lot of press in the Denver area, and it's in fact, the communications head for DEA was actually on a radio show that I listened to as he explained what happened.
And as the mayor explained, I believe at our last meeting, up here in Summit County, we don't have any anticipation of ICE action. Things can change. Our local police forces are in no way concerned with enforcing immigration laws except as they apply to known bad guys. They're still very much interested in enforcing, if you're a drug dealer, or Dylan just arrested that trafficker the other day, those types of people, everything that can be thrown at them will be thrown at them, but our police are in no way going to be, it sounds like, cooperating with rounding up people simply because they're in the country without proper documentation.
I was going to cover this later, but it's opportune time. There is a concern of all the towns in Summit County on the ICE crackdown and potential deportation. The major concern is that a lot of our residents and our key workforce will go to ground and disappear. And suddenly we may not have the workforce of Summit County to actually perform the services that we need through the season. The police chief of Frisco, I believe it was, and the sheriff have been working with ICE for some time. In the last 5 years, ICE was in Summit County one time, and they were here to enforce a warrant on someone who was wanted for murder. They have not been back, regardless of what the rumors are. ICE has not been in Summit County in the last, other than that one time in 5 years. The local police do get notification when ICE does arrive at an area that had state law limits. Fortunately for us, the amount of involvement that a local sheriff or a police department can have with ICE, they do not routinely ask questions about of anyone they stop in traffic stops, of what your immigration status. If something escalates and something of a felony criminal nature may occur, that could be problematic because they will start walking down that rabbit hole. And if more is found, then they potentially identify someone that would be worthy of identification. But it's not a routine thing. If someone is staying out of bad contacts, as occurred in that nightclub operation I mentioned, if someone is staying low profile, the indication that we had from law enforcement is that there's going to be, they're relatively safe. The schools, you've seen all the publication of what the schools are doing to keep ICE out of the schools. And again, there's no indication right now that ICE is going to go into the schools after children to try to do enforcement. All that could change, but that's right now ground truth. The regional ICE office in Denver doesn't have sufficient staffing today to go after the hardcore criminals, let alone anyone else. And that's ground truth. Resources could be added, We recognize that could change, but that's the ground truth where we're at now. All the towns in Summit County, or at least we've elected to not make a big political or public statement about it. And the reason is, we don't want to become an Aurora and a political target. So by taking a low profile, the odds are, as we've seen, all these raids that have occurred are all in political targeted areas. And so just, the objective is low profile and to reach out to the community and get this message I just mentioned out as much as we can. Councilmember Hagan.
Can local law enforcement be compelled or forced to assist in
No.
these? Okay,
State law.
thank you. Well, would federal law?
No, we have a state law that specifically precludes them from cooperating with ICE. There are some exceptions in there on the criminal nature side. Did I misstate anything, John?
No, I think you got that absolutely
In fact,
correct.
that's been a major contention for years on the front range from the conservative counties where the sheriffs wanted to work with ICE. And there have been lawsuits filed against the sheriffs, and the sheriffs have lost those lawsuits. So, go ahead.
Yeah, just a few more things. We're going to be putting out an RFP soon for the reconstruction of the Ranch Road corner at the end of Soda Ridge up until Saw Whiskers. That road needs to be, it's not a simple matter of repaving, it's a matter of reconstruction. So we want to make sure we get on people's schedule for that. They're going to have to take it down to the road base and rebuild that road. It was never constructed properly, and that's why it's in such bad shape.
Remind us what we're fixing there? Is it the drainage, is it the plowing?
No,
Is
it's
it-
literally the road.
It's
They pretty
it's
much,
just eroding away.
yeah, they paved on dirt, pretty much is the situation. And that's why no one has ever taken responsibility for that road. The county claims they don't have responsibility. Vail Resorts claimed it was not their responsibility, and it has just continued to deteriorate, and that it needs to be redone. There are other road projects, but we did not get our full analysis of our roads done before winter moved in. Most of those projects will just probably be repaving, milling and repaving, and that's not as big a scheduling concern as it is to actually mobilize for a reconstruction of a stretch of road. It's a small stretch of road, but it needs major work.
Yeah, it's basically the area at the end of Soda Ridge Road, going in front of the stadium.
We're going to be getting a building appraisal for this building and property so that we're informed going into negotiations. And we're doing a first year recap email to send out in the very near future. And our town clerk has requested that some of the council come in and film little clips that we can add to that, kind of touting where we're at, what we've done, and what we see happening in the near future. So if you're willing to do that, please reach out to Maddie. Sooner rather than later, we'd like to get this done and out before our anniversary.
Can I ask that recap that you come up with, if the council members would like to see that?
Yeah,
We may have things to add to it. In addition to that, once that recap's ready to go, I would ask you to reach out to the Summit Daily,
Yep.
and particularly around February 8th in the startup of the town, and see if we can get a major piece in the Summit Daily talking about the town of Keystone, what we've accomplished in this last year.
And that's all I've got. Our next meeting is February 11th.
Today's the 28th. February, no, our next meeting is February 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah, today's the 28th. All right. So that's the end of mayor and, manager staff.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You just gave us a long list of things that we all are involved in. What's the plan, or at least the timeline to start soliciting volunteers for the two new boards, for the Trails Board and Business Council?
I actually told Lindsay, was it yesterday or today, to get on the Open Space and Trails Board, get that organized, and we'll organize that even before the comp plan, and then they will become the comp plan Trails Board too. Yeah, there'll be that committee. And for business and short-term rental, we need to get these organized in the next couple months or two, start sending out, requesting interest, and working with council on who do we really need to target. We encourage everyone to reach out to be on it. Just because council knows someone does not mean, or doesn't know someone, doesn't mean they won't be the most valuable member of that committee, so.
And I would encourage you to, even though someone may apply and not be accepted, if you think they might be a good contributor, to reach out to them and say, have you considered applying? It doesn't necessarily even mean that you're endorsing them, it's just you want to get the best talent in there.
Can we make sure for committees like the short-term, I don't know what we're calling it, short-term rental?
Short-term rental.
That it's not just short-term rental owners and hosts, and that we have people who are impacted by short-term rentals, that we have a good mix of
Very
stakeholders.
good idea.
And I think that's what we talked about last August when we talked about this. It has to include the folks who were impacted, it has to include the HOAs who were impacted, it has to include rental management companies, it has to include the individual renters. So it's not going to be a small group, it's going to be a larger group that you're getting feedback from and potential change.
And these will not be groups that are meeting monthly.
Yeah, bring them in for, this is a target.
Yeah,
And they can organize and decide in their own.
and there will be times that they'll want to meet more often. This is not like a planning commission where.
Well, the short-term group I would see as a very short-term charter that will give them to go out, evaluate how the first number of months of the short-term rental program has gone, what changes and tweaks they recommend that we make to that to make it more effective for the entire community. You have something, Councilmember Corbett?
Just a question, so for these groups, are they all selected by staff or?
Staff will, these are council committees.
Yeah.
So we'll approve the
Yeah.
applicants?
Yeah, staff will probably bring you lists, we'll probably bring you lists of who we would recommend, and we'll probably give you a complete list of people who applied, so.
And I'd like to throw out for Trails and Open Space, and particularly the Business Advisory Committee, as I've had the chance since we passed that ordinance to reflect on it, I think 5 number is too small, particularly in the business community. I think that number may need to be expanded so we get a good cross-section of the community versus.
What did we vote on? Did we make it only 5?
Maybe we made
Did
it
we
5.
say minimum of 5, or?
I believe, I'll ask the town attorney, she probably doesn't have an answer tonight. But as I remember, it was 5.
If you give me a second, I can find it.
Okay, thanks.
I do have another question that's not related to that.
Go ahead.
So with the structure of this, and sorry if I'm not understanding correctly, like, would we be able to give questions or topics? Because I guess what I'm concerned about is I would hate for these groups of influential individuals in their own sectors to just be told, go talk. And then not necessarily have focused conversation in areas that I think we'd be willing to act at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They need to know what we're recruiting them to do,
Yeah.
to advise on.
But that doesn't mean that they won't also come up with thoughts that,
Or opinions of the,
yeah.
But, an example would be, I beat the horse to death earlier, but the trash enclosure issue. That could be something you could have gone to a business advisory council and asked them questions on implementation and got their advice on implementation. Doesn't mean we have to follow it, but at least you understand a different perspective that we may not understand.
And we could go to the Trails and Open Space and ask them their same opinion, and they might have a very different opinion.
One question I can't wait for the trails and open spaces, do you want the entire bike path plowed in the winter?
Yeah.
Several people reached out to me about that, but.
A major piece of that group, aside from the comp plan, is also a long-term trails and open space master plan for where does the town need to go in the long term for trails and open space, and what's the vision for that?
Yeah, and our interconnectivity throughout the town to our,
And how do we want to handle that whole area between River Run and Mountain House, and the areas going south and the areas going north, or east and west?
So I was able to find the answer, and that's 5 for each, 5 members.
We screwed that.
So can we amend it?
We can amend it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an easy amendment.
Let's look at that.
and it should probably be amended not to a number certain, but to a number as determined by the council.
Right.
Oh,
That's it.
perfect.
In fact, is it fair for the council to give direction to staff to go ahead and prepare that amendment now?
Yes.
Yep.
Can they just make a motion on that single line?
What?
Can they just make a motion to amend on that single line?
No, it's an ordinance. It's going to require public hearing, it's going to require 2 meetings. It's not even, unfortunately, not even a resolution. So we're talking a ways out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's appropriate. All right, Councilmember Kerr.
I'm sorry, one more thing. The land use applications page on our website is grand. That excellent work building that out. Really helpful, user-friendly, check, check, check. Can we do something simpler for Public Works? Because we had talked back in December about putting the snowplow route up there. And even if we just have a placeholder site under Public Works with a contact.
Yeah, very good idea.
Thank you.
And you perhaps address also what's included in phase 2. This was
Phase
phase 1.
two,
In
yeah.
phase 2, this is what we're going to be looking at for consideration. You'll hear more about that.
And, you
Thanks for
know,
writing
just
what we-
things we've talked about forever, just upcoming projects, look out here, they're
Yes,
going to be doing
please.
this on your road. Yeah.
That might be a great area to put a lot of the aspects you were talking about communication earlier as well.
Yes,
And visuals are really nice too, I will say.
you need now pictures of files.
You're right, though. I mean,
It is, you're right. Anything else?
I am.
All right, oh, that's, we were already past you. All right. Again, report of mayor and council. Anyone else have a report? You heard my report, by the way, in this area, so go ahead. Councilmember Davis.
So, I think it was a week ago Friday, I attended the CML Policy Committee. And I would say there is a theme this year. I'm not going to go into specifics because it's very early, but there is a theme with the legislature in trying to use a one size fits all plan and take, the only word I can use is rights away from municipalities. On each of these, probably 20 some odd, there was a vote, and it was pretty close to consistent. If it was the legislature trying to remove responsibility, rights, whatever you want to call it, from towns, it was resoundingly rejected. Now, what the board of CML will do, I would assume, would be to follow this, but they don't have to. But it's seemingly that legislature is really trying to become the town council for the whole state.
And in answer to that question of the CML director, I had a brief conversation with him last week on that subject. The CML is firmly supportive of exactly what the town's been asking for in the cities. Protecting the rights of the home rule, particularly protecting the rights of home rule towns like Keystone, where the legislature is trying to move in and take that over.
Absolutely.
Their other major concern is the legislature, because of the $1 billion budget shortfall they're trying to deal with, are looking at rating things like the severance fund that DOLA has. And right now there's a bill out there, I believe, to transfer $20 million from severance funds into the general fund. And so those are things that CML is, I can tell you, they're adamantly, their marching orders to their lobbying staff is to adamantly oppose this. And there are other things that are town specific.
Right.
Right? Any other reports? Councilmember Kerr.
Not so much a report, but a coordination. So, this is January. January, we had the first evening coffee / brew with council. By what we have discussed to date, we'll go back to a first Monday, which would be the February 3rd. Dan asked me to solicit volunteers. That would be Monday, December 3rd at 9 a.m. February 3rd. I got that. Thank you. Again, one day, February 3rd at 9 a.m. at Steve.
If I can make it, I would be glad to, but I need to get back to you on that.
Okay. Maybe, Valerie, are you in?
Sorry, 9 a.m.
Yeah, excellent, thank you. Okay, just let me know if you can't, I'll back you up, but that'd be great. Thank you.
Any other reports?
Is there anything I need to do, or is all the publicizing and everything that you need taken care of? I just need to show up.
She's doing an awesome job.
I just want to get a feel of who's going to cast.
Who else going to cast?
Oh, and incidentally, the October meeting will be here.
The October cast meeting?
Good. Do you have a date for that yet?
October 8th and 9th. They coincide with Mountain Town 2030, which is happening, I'll talk about that at a future meeting, in Breckenridge on the 6th and 7th.
Go again with those dates?
October 8th and 9th is when CAST meets in Keystone.
Is it coinciding on purpose?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Last year coincided at Jackson Hole at that time period.
Yeah, so coalition, that's to make this our top part.
All right. Any other reports of council members? Other matters? Councilmember Davis.
I would like, I understand that Dan is attending his mother's funeral. Have we done anything for that? And I mean, a donation, you know, a tribute of flowers, or do we want to do something for Dan? Or do we not want to do anything, but I just thought we should bring it up?
I don't know. I think that no matter what, we will be sending a card and something, but I think a donation will be. I'm sure he has an organization. Donations are going towards or something.
I would be fully supportive of that.
How much?
Are we talking about on a personal level?
No, we're talking town money. We're talking town money for donation, right?
Yeah,
So, question
Is
is,
that legal?
it is.
Is that kosher? Is that, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sort of reading
It's
the
a policy
policy
here,
here.
just,
Yeah.
I don't know if those are.
Yeah, my concern about that would be, where does it end?
Yeah. I think it's hard.
Do other towns do this?
And if people want to make individual.
Not
contributions,
necessarily
they can.
for
I'm more
family.
comfortable with that.
You know, we lost council member who was actually on board when we were up in Grand Lake. But that's an entirely different story on all sorts of it. It was one of us, not one of our extended family.
Now, actually,
Yeah.
town attorney, this is a point of information, based on your experience in dealing with other towns, how do they handle things like this, the death of a family member, of a council member? Do the towns make any donation, or is it up to individuals?
I would say it's probably a case by case decision. There's not a hard and fast rule. I really honestly haven't, I'm not aware of any councils that I've worked with providing money to a family for support. That doesn't mean you can't do it. So it might be helpful at some point to put in place a donation policy that outlines what what you would want to donate money for. And that way it puts in guardrails so it doesn't get to a place where everybody's coming to you for a donation.
Yeah, I think we should do a card and
Yeah.
possibly flowers, but.
That makes me comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't think Dan would be judging one way or the other. He will be happy that we have acknowledged this.
And if you could put together a card, the timeliness of it,
Yep.
and then individually we can all handle the sympathy and how we want to handle it as individuals.
Thank you.
All right.
Can you send us Dan's mailing address?
Yeah, I just got that request, so yep.
Okay.
Any other report of, or any other business? I don't know what to do now. It's not 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock.
Well, have a tiny celebration.
I believe we've exhausted the agenda with no executive session. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? To adjourn.